Public hearing. Right? You gonna stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Public hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 6:30 in the Norma Drummer Room at Seymour Town Hall, 1 First Street, Seymour, Connecticut, to discuss the potential name change of the park currently known as Broad Street Park, dated at Seymour, Connecticut, the 7th day of February 2025 at the Board of Select Persons. Kurt?
I'm Town Moderator Kurt Miller. So at this point, I will ask, are there any residents who have interest in making a comment on the agenda item, potential name change for the park currently known as Broad Street Park? If you would please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and provide your testimony.
Mike Kearney, 72 Mountain Road, Commander of the American Legion, Post 10, and also board member of Seymour Historical Society. I've been following this for quite a while now, and I totally agree with the winner of the contest, with the little history of the park down there, Joe Chu's. If you look at the town seal right behind you, that's Joe Chu standing by the falls. Back in the 1700s, that land was given to him by his father, and for about 80 years, Seymour was called Chewstown. So I think it's entirely appropriate that if the board is going to make a decision to rename that park, I think that's an appropriate name, Chews. And 35 years ago, when we were doing the monuments up at the park, there was a contest in the Seymour Middle School. A young student named, I think the last name was Garrity, designed the flag for the town of Seymour. History and Heritage, we haven't gotten them back yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. And there's a picture of the seal with the Indian at the falls. So again, I think it's entirely appropriate, and I would totally agree from my position as the commander, and plus talking to some of my board members at the Historical Society, that that's an appropriate name, and I congratulate the winner of the contest. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment regarding the naming of the Broad Street Park? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Scurat, 19 Glen Circle. I'm a member of the Seymour Historical Society, however, I'm speaking just for myself. Thank you. I'm very much in favor of naming the park Chews Park after Joseph Chews, who was very important to the town of Seymour. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment?
If I may, Madam Chairwoman,
Absolutely.
for the record, we did conduct a contest among students in the school system, and the winner of the contest proposed to name the park Chews Park, and the runner-up proposed to name the park Broad River Community Park. There's been a lot of discussion about Chief Chews and Chewstown, the area where the park is, and it represents the beginning of settlement in Seymour in the late 1600s. This is tonight's hearing is the first time that we're utilizing an ordinance which this board passed last year regarding the naming of areas and public structures in Seymour. It's an ordinance that's intended to give the public an opportunity to weigh in on a name that might have been proposed or names that might have been proposed. And here we are exercising our democratic principles of public participation in naming this park. I think this park needs to be renamed from Broad Street Park. Broad Street doesn't mean much. It's the name of the street, and it's a very sterile name. It's a beautiful park. We're indebted to the VFW and members of the Culture and Arts Committee who have enhanced the park over the years. After listening to the public and people and the winners of the contest, I would like to propose that this board consider utilizing parts of the names of the two winners of the contest and name the park Choose Town Community Park. Choose Town Community Park. That's my proposal at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other board member that would like to?
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. I wouldn't be Ann Conroy's daughter if I didn't do a little history digging in on here. So this land that we're talking about, it made into a reservation about 1678 on both sides of the river. Choose lived there for about 48 years before he moved up to Kent. He had 10 children. He was a pretty athletic man. And they said in the Derby history books, he was a large athletic man and a very spry and active hunter. He had 10 of his children, and at the time in 1836, he still had a daughter, Eunice, who was 72, that was able to provide Seymour with much of the history that we now know about Joseph Choose. So I am also in favor of naming the park Choose, and I like what Fred said about merging the two and make it Choose Community Park. Thank you.
Choose Town Community
I
Park.
propose Choose Town
Correct.
Community Park.
Okay.
But that's up to the board.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah, I kind of like the Shoes Community Park personally. I'm not sure if folks would know what Shoes Town means, but I think Shoes would recognize the individual. And I think Shoes Community Park would be a nice compromise.
I like Choose Town because that's what we were beforehand, was Choose Town. So I kind of like Choose Town
I
Community
think
Park.
people would recognize that.
Yeah, and you know what, and if they don't, and not to sound icky, but then they could do the understanding of why the name is Choose Town, and they can do some
Do some
history
research.
research of our town. Doesn't sound icky. Right. So, is there any other public comment regarding the park? No more public comment?
Fred, repeat
The name.
the name you said,
Choose Town Community Park.
Town Community Park is what you said, Fred?
Choose Town Community Park.
Okay.
Again, just a proposal.
With that, I will close public comment. Thank you. Almost 2 minutes, and then we can start our second public comment. Choose Town Community Park. That's the school name.
That's what I propose.
Just want to make sure we have that.
Fred said.
And you like this Choose Community Park. That's fine too.
I like yours.
I like Choose
People seem to like yours better.
Town Community Park.
Although that one.
Either one of those two is good with me.
I kind of like Choose Town because that's what our name was beforehand. No, I know. I'm just We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kearney, will you start us off? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second public hearing of the night. Public hearing will be held Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 6:45 PM in the Norma Drummer Room, Seymour Town Hall, 1 First Street, Seymour, Connecticut, to discuss the following: the potential sale of 150 and 170 Main Street to the State of Connecticut DOT for upgrades to the Waterbury Branch Line Main Street Station dated Seymour, Connecticut, the 7th day of February 2025 by the Board of Select Persons. Kurt, Town Moderator.
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. Kurt Miller, Town Moderator. At this point, I'll invite any resident forward who would like to make comment on the listed agenda item, potential sale of 150 and 170 Main Street to the State of Connecticut DOT for the upgrades to the Waterbury Branch Line Main Street Station. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and share your comments with the board. I'll ask a second time if anyone would like to come forward and make comment. I'll ask a third and final time. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and make comment? Hi.
Please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record, please.
Please make sure you bring your hall pass too, please. Hall pass? Never mind.
Hall pass?
Yes, there you go.
Actually, I have a question before I make a statement. Could you identify, for those of us who don't know, what 150 and 170 Main Street is? Is that the empty lot with the burned building? Are those the parking spaces along the train station? Could you identify, please, for those of us here? And then I'll have a comment once we know.
Are those it? 150, 170 Main Street is the parking lot across from, so if Jimmy's is on the corner, 150, 170 is the train station parking lot that is currently there now. So, the parking lot that was, the Bank of America's parking lot, then you have where the train station is now, where the grandstand is during the parades, that is 150 and 170, it goes all the way down on that side.
So the town currently owns those properties?
The town currently owns that property. The state of Connecticut offered us to buy it from us, or that they were taking it by eminent domain.
Okay, so I guess everybody's been talking about if it's true. If it's not true, you can correct me.
I will.
They will use that for, not metered parking. What am I looking at?
Right now, it's going to be regular parking, just like it is now.
Right, but when they do the upgrades, they'll probably be, what do you call when you get a sticker on your car?
Well, you have to have a sticker on your car now.
For the town.
For the
I guess my
town.
question is, once they do it down the road, because I know Fairfield train station does it, not Metro, and I think Westport, they have somebody who polices it. So my question is the Seymour Police Department going to be saddled with that job? Who's going to set the fines? Who's going to be the collector of the fines? Who's going to keep the money?
Okay, so I'll answer those questions if you don't mind, if you don't mind, right? I can answer those questions. So the parking is going to stay the same it is. The town's going to monitor it like we currently monitor it now. If we see that it becomes a problem, then they're going to put in metered parking with the parking kiosks there, as it says. There was a couple of questions. Will there be any restrictions on the parking spots once the project is done? As currently designed, the project will not be installing parking meters or restricting the parking to commuters. However, we are identifying a location where a pay-by-plate kiosk could go in the future. While there is no plan currently, the Office of Rail may turn these to paid spots in the future, particularly if ridership increases. Question number 2 was, how long will the project take and will the parking spaces be unavailable during that time? Construction of the station is anticipated to be about 1.5 to 2 years, starting in the fall of 2025 and finishing in early of 2027. Will the parking spaces need to be monitored by the town? The DOT will monitor the spaces. There will be some security cameras on the station building, allowing for some visuals of the lot. Will the town need to maintain the area, i.e. plow, etc., or will it be done by the DOT? This will be handled by the DOT. Once they get the signed paperwork back, they will process the file to go to the state's Property Review Board, the SPRB, for their approval, which takes approximately 4+ weeks. Once they get their approval, they will send the file over to their title department, who will order the check and contract for the closing. They will pay all the costs for the closing, including the recording of the documents. The entire process will take about 2 months for the town to get their check and for the signed paperwork.
So looking down the road then, assuming they go to sticker parking, I mean, the whole point is to increase train ridership, there's no parking, whatever. What provisions, in other words, let's say I want to go downtown and eat lunch at Jimmy's,
Mhm.
or I want to go shopping. Those will only be by permit? If it goes to further down, let's assume it does, because once you sell it, you have no control.
We have no control either, because either we sell it or they take it by eminent domain.
So then the next question is, has the town determined the true market value?
We have the true market value. We'd have to go for another
Appraisal?
assessment. Thank you. Appraisal. Thank you. We'd have to go for another appraisal. If we went for another appraisal, then we would have to get the attorneys involved, and it would cost us more money. So we maybe get an additional $15,000, where attorney fees may be $10,000. So we really only make $5,000 on the deal.
So I guess the question's still up in the air. Who's going to collect the fees, set the fees?
The town will collect the money and keep the money, just like we currently do now.
So our Seymour PD will be responsible for monitoring it once if
Just
go-
like they do now.
Okay, thank you.
Like the 165 Main Street, the parking lot down there, the DOT monitors the parking there.
How would they be able to do it legally if we don't own it anymore? That's like monitoring the parking lot at,
Please come to the microphone so they can hear you, because we're streaming. Sorry. No, not for the TV.
so I guess if they're gonna continue to monitor it, et cetera, but we don't own it anymore, do they have the legal authority to give tickets out? Like, can somebody go into Claris Village and give a ticket out? Is that private property?
So when they say that they're going to be monitoring it, right, they're going to be monitoring it from the cameras to make sure there's no vandalism done in case a car is being broken into. But the town is still allowed to use it, and it's still, they're going to maintain it, plow it, pave it, stripe it, hedge trim, maintain the beautification of it, right? But the town is going to be able to use it and collect the fees from it. The DOT is just going to monitor it so that there's no damage done to the truck, any trains that are over there, the buildings that are over there.
So you're saying when this goes through, if they go to permit parking only, we, the town, will continue to police it and collect the fines, issue the tickets and collect the fines?
If and when they go to permit parking, that is something that we'd have to look down the road for the DOT then to start processing. Almost like with Milford, you go in, everybody has to have a parking area, and it may be this amount of parking spaces are for permitted people.
I know,
and
I've gotten
this-
tickets at Fairfield, so I
Right.
know,
And this part is over here for anybody that wants to park over
okay.
here.
So it'll still hopefully be like that.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Any other questions regarding the parking lot? Any questions from the board, the board?
Yes, if I may.
Sure.
During the construction period, 1.5 to 2 years, we will not have any of the present parking that's being taken away through the purchase.
Correct.
I think that seriously affects the economic viability of downtown Seymour.
It does.
I also think it's unfortunate that the Department of Transportation did not schedule a public information session with regard to this project so that you're not on the spot answering questions that you have secondhand information to. There should have been an information session by the DOT.
There should have, but it's the DOT, and I will answer the questions as best that I can, and we
Okay.
can ask that they come here and answer
And
questions
that's fine.
before construction starts. And you know how we have the construction meeting for Bungie Road? before that construction starts, maybe we do that, we ask the DOT to come down for that as well. That's a good question, have them do. Al? Okay, Teresa?
I just had a couple of concerns, and I know we got them answered about the parking that would be available to the residents to use. But looking down the road, if they do decide to make it metered parking and we're without those spots, is the town looking to do some long-range planning for more parking in downtown Seymour?
Yes, we'll start doing a parking study to see where else we can use for parking
I think we
areas.
should start that sooner than later,
We
because
have.
we know it's probably going to be coming down the road.
Yeah.
And then I know we just talked about the town appraisal, and I brought that up at our last meeting, was if the town has it appraised for $241,000, and their offer price was $196,000, so that's a difference of $45,000. Can't we just reach out to them and tell them what we have it assessed at? Instead of going and having to have another appraisal done?
No, because, Rich, I'll return to you, but just correct me if I'm wrong on this. Whenever, you have to have appraisal done within the last 6 months. Correct?
For DOT purposes,
Yes.
yes. They want a current appraisal, which we do not have at this time.
Well, I would still suggest that we get that appraisal, because I don't think it's $1,500, it's $4,500, and I know we're just so tight on our budget that I'd rather have us have the money than the state, if that's at all possible.
I understand, but then the money that we're spending to pay for the appraisal, we actually have to have the courts go and fight it, and they'll just take it by eminent domain.
But when you say take it by eminent domain, it's
So
not like
the-
they're just
may-
taking it and
maybe-
not giving us money.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes, they actually do, and you'll, Fred can explain that too, but they actually do. DOT is setting a date, as I understand it, so we either accept their offer, or they have said that they will take it by eminent domain. And what that means is, all they have to do, Teresa, is file the paperwork, the appropriate paperwork in court along with a statement of compensation, and they own it at that point. Then our only rights will be to contest the valuation. So we would, we would be in a, we would have our expert, our appraiser, and they would have theirs, and if it went to conclusion, a judge will decide what the actual value is, or, but putting that aside, what's different when the state goes to take something by eminent domain, or the town, the day that you do it and you file the paperwork, you actually own it, and you pay the money into court. And then the only right the property owner has at that point is to contest the valuation and say, I'm entitled to more. So, yeah, that's what I was saying at the last meeting. If they're serious about the date, what's the date?
February 20th.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now, they're,
Today's.
yeah, it's DOT.
2 days.
Well, I just felt strongly like that the town's losing out on money that we're appraised for. If my house is appraised at $241,000 and somebody came in and offered me $196,000, I would surely look to have other buyers or whatever. And I know it's not like that same, but it's just money on the table that I'd rather see in the town of Seymour.
I get that all day long, and I'm not going to talk about the value of the property. I'm just going to say it's assessed. The assessed value is $241,000. It hasn't been appraised by the town. That's the assessed value. That's what it's carried with on the grand list. And I mean, our appraisal could be for more, or it could turn out to be for less. So we've seen that too. There's when people contest their assessments, and you go through the whole first Board of Assessment Appeals, and then the court system, where you can file a tax appeal, and you can test the valuation. This is a little different. If we, the town, we've used eminent domain too, and you may recall we ended up not too long ago taking some property for a drainage easement that was the town had been stymied on for some time, and we just went ahead and took it. Finally, we had had enough, and we took it. And then property owner was allowed to contest the valuation. We paid that money into court. And here, the state can condemn us, basically. So that's, one way or the other, this is going to go to the state. That's inevitable, apparently. And the state is doing this up and down the line. They've already moved forward on the Derby side piece of this, which is a larger lot, from what I recall. So, but anyway, I'll just, I hope that's helpful. So, it is what it is.
I'm going to fall on the sword on this one and vote no, even though I understand what the process is going to
We're
lead
not
to.
voting on that one right
But I'm just saying, later on, when we
Yeah.
vote.
Look, I understand, no one likes, being pushed into a corner, one way or the other. And,
I'm looking at the economic viability of our businesses in downtown Seymour, and I want to send a message to the state DOT.
I suspect that might lead us to take some other actions.
Very good.
I suspect. Not with respect to this, because you can't do much with the power of the state in condemnation, other than valuation. But it might lead us to do something to identify underutilized parcels that could provide additional parking. I know that's something the administration's been looking at. And there may be a plan on that in the near future.
I look forward to that conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
now. Another public hearing.
me too.
Is there any other public comment on the 165, 170? No? Okay, with that, we'll close that one. Public hearing, 6:50. Go ahead, Kurt. Ready? Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 6:50. We're a couple minutes late. In the Norma Drummer Room, Seymour Town Hall, 1 First Street, Seymour, Connecticut, to discuss the following. Resolution for the town of Seymour to join the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority. Turn it over to the town moderator, Kurt Miller.
Thank you very much, Madam First Selectwoman. At this point, we'll entertain comment from residents in attendance with regards to the agenda item listed, resolution for the town of Seymour to join the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority. At this point, I'll ask any resident who has comment to come forward. Please state your name and address for the record and provide your testimony to the Board of Select Persons. I'll ask it.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Jeff
evening.
Barola, 63 Woodbridge Avenue, Ansonia. I'm the advisor for the Conservation Commission here in town. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Conservation Commission and state that we support the town of Seymour joining the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, or MRDA. The authority's efforts to spur transit-oriented development go hand in hand with the Conservation Commission's goals of preserving open space. As Governor Lamont said, businesses want to expand and add jobs in locations where they have access to quality workforce, and workers want to live where they have access to jobs and transportation. By encouraging more density and mixed-use development in Connecticut cities and towns like Seymour, it discourages the continuation of suburban sprawl and the decimation of our forests, meadows, and farmlands. We are in a serious housing crisis right now. 1 acre of mixed use and residential development in any downtown will always provide more housing and tax revenue than 1 acre of single-family housing in the suburbs. Seymour should focus on drastically increasing housing here in the heart of town, not on the outskirts that are closer to other towns. Open spaces must be preserved for people to enjoy. This is why the Seymour Conservation Commission proudly supports what the MRDA stands for, and we encourage the town of Seymour to join.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? comments? Any board comment?
I would just like to ask if you could just let everyone know what this Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority is.
I'll be happy to, Teresa, thank you. So the state of Connecticut, by passing a statute, a series of statutes, created the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, which allows municipalities throughout the state to join it. The statute that states the purpose is 8-169JJ of the Connecticut General Statutes, and the purpose of it is to stimulate economic and, as that gentleman said, transit-oriented development as defined in the Connecticut General Statutes and in redevelopment authority development districts, to encourage residential housing development within development districts, to manage facilities through contractual agreement or other legal instrument, to stimulate new investment within development districts, to provide support for the creation of vibrant, multi-dimensional downtowns, and that's certainly something we're trying to do here. A municipality may join it. It also has professional staff, and they're looking to provide financial support and technical assistance to municipalities to develop housing growth zones. So that's what the Municipal Redevelopment Authority is. It is chaired, the executive director is David Corus, who I believe was a significant economic development official, I think in the Malloy administration. He is operating this particular agency. They are trying to sign up most of the towns on the rail line here, believe it or not, and they've done that. Derby voted the other night. I saw the certified copy of the resolution certified by their town clerk, Liana Mark Garofalo, and I saw an email from Mr. Corus today thanking Derby for joining the redevelopment authority. So that is what this is all about. It's Seymour looking to take advantage of state money, state expertise, and state planning talent and other things to help generate more housing development, transit-oriented development, in particular to provide a boost to the downtown area. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Is
welcome.
there any other public comment? No other public comment, all right. All right, thank you. We'll close public comment. All right, now on to our regular scheduled meeting. Please stand for the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment? Is there any public comment? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Jen Karpovich, 10 Hemlock Road. I'm sure you heard the saying that Bungay School is a great place to be, but that statement is only true because of the students and staff, not because of the building. Every day when students and staff enter the building, they have to worry about safety. Staff must check the doors to make sure they're properly closed and locked behind them because the doors are so old and too expensive to replace. Many windows need to be duct taped shut to keep them closed in the winter, while others need to be forced open. There is no cooling system at Bungay, and the current electrical system can't handle any more window units. While you enter the building, you will see the original floors in almost all areas, broken blinds because those two are the original blinds, and no space. You have closets being used as offices and even a conference room. Students are receiving special services in those closets and also the hallways. It's time we do right by these kids and build a new school. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment?
Mike Kearney, Commander, Post 10 in Seymour, 3335, 37 Bank Street. Just a note on the previous discussion on the train station upgrade. Number one, I agree with Fred that there's not a lot of information. There should have been a public hearing or something to disseminate more information to the townspeople. If I understand, there's going to be construction going on Main Street, taking those parking spaces away. There's tenants across the street that live upstairs. There's provisions made for them to park someplace else because they're going to be taking our spots on Bank Street as far as if there's no other spaces. I mean, I don't know what the provisions are being made to accommodate the tenants and the business owners. Are you saying from September or September of 2025, 2027, they're going to be upgrading that train station? Is that what I heard from the conversation before? And the upgrade to the train station is for what reason? Is that from a disability standpoint? Because of the stepping off the trains or the platforms and all that? I was at a hearing last year about this road to be connected from Seymour to Beacon Falls. And I thought I heard in that conversation they're talking about maybe moving the train station to on the other side of the river behind Stop and Shop. I mean, is the state looking at that plan too, or it just, to me, it's a waste of money. And I don't know what they're upgrading here. I mean, anybody look at the volume of people that use that train in Seymour, getting on and off? I mean, there should be a study or something done to show that this is a viable upgrade, not just take it upon themselves to come into the town and take over, because it's going to, like Fred said, it's going to affect the tenants, it's going to affect the people that live in those homes. And again, Teresa brought up about parking in town. I don't know where you're going to look for parking downtown in the future, even if you start looking at it now. I mean, we have people complaining on the apartments over here that they're parking over by the fish ladder because there was a problem with the parking lot over here. You know, permit parking with the Knights of Columbus. You know, so again, unless you build some kind of a parking garage, I don't know where you're going to park people. And again, we own the building on Bank Street at the far end, and if they're going to start parking down our end, I mean, that's, you know, that's going to cause a big problem in town, especially over that amount of time from September 25 to 2027. So, I don't know, maybe somebody from, is there anything through our state rep that could disseminate more information to us to exactly understand what's going on over here? I mean, it's kind of just thrown on us. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Rebecca Bennett, 21A Cozy Lane. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody. I am not only a staff member in Seymour and at Bungay School, but I was appointed on the Bungay School Facilities Need Committee and the Bungay School Building Committee. And it's been a pleasure to serve on there, and we've been really excited about the progress that we have made in the firm that we've been working with, and we're really excited to move forward. And I think a lot of the people in the town are with us in that, and so we're very excited for the support that we have. I was also asked to read another member of Seymour, Andy North. He's also on the board with us, the building committee. He couldn't be here tonight, so he sent a statement and asked me to read it. This is Andy North. I'm a member of the committee and live on Agello's Farm Road. I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I'm traveling this week. I appreciate Becky reading this. I would just like to thank all of those on the Bungay committee. First of all, their dedication is truly amazing. I believe this is a very important project for the town, and the children of our community deserve to learn in an updated learning environment. My 7-year-old Ford goes to Bungay, and my 4-year-old daughter starts in the fall. I cannot say enough about how great the teachers are and how great the school is run. Ford loves to go to Bungay. This school is an absolute gem worthy of an A+ physical environment. I think it is foolish to get caught up in the minutia of the estimates, and at this point we have hired a first-class firm to help us with these, and they seem very reasonable at this point. It is my understanding that the town would need to spend at least 10 million just to keep Bungay adequate, and in my opinion, that would be a very expensive Band-Aid. When you cut through the chase, either a new school, which is what the committee recommends, or a complete renovation would cost the town about 22 million net. To me, that 12 million delta, give or take, is a no-brainer to provide an exceptional physical learning environment to the kids of our community and gifted staff, as well as inherently prove our town as an added benefit. I personally appreciate the fact that the town has made this a priority and hope that this could be a smooth and expedited process and everybody can get behind it. Thank you for your time, Andy North. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Hello, my name is Patrick Knott, 633 Bungay Road. I own 3 commercial properties in Seymour along with my house. I've lived in Seymour since 1979. I've had 2 kids go through the Seymour school system. We absolutely loved it. They were very caring. We went through a very tragic accident in 1993. The teachers reached out, helped us through a very difficult time. The school system at that time was La Presti that we were involved in. It was an old building, world-class teachers. We loved it. Then we moved up to Bungay Road. And I understand everybody's concerned for taxes and so on with the reevaluation that went on and so on, but we can't cheap out. And I always found Seymour, for all the years I've lived in here, to be a little bit behind the curve on the rest of the Valley towns. It seems like we were stagnant. We have beautiful houses, beautiful properties here in Seymour, but we were always just a little bit behind the curve. We have world-class teachers at Bungay School. Great principal. My granddaughter, who's here with us tonight, 12 and a half years old, honor student going through the school system. She's in the middle school right now. And I just find that we have to do something to make it better. Our kids grow through the Seymour school system. They do very well. They go off to college. They get married. They don't come back to Seymour because one of the first things they look at is, you know, we want to have a nice house, we have a quality piece of land, but we want to have a quality school system. And it seems like neighboring towns are doing that. So I think it's very important for us to, in order to keep our kids coming back after school, is to go ahead and move forward with a school. Being that I live so close to Bungay School, 2 houses away, I understand that at any given time that there's a meeting, somebody should be getting killed because of the parking. It's the narrowest part of the street. The parking is terrible. We also have the road project going on soon, which now is the perfect time to do something with that school and integrate it into the utility work that's going to go on, so you don't have to redo the road now and then think of ways to retrofit into a brand new paved road. Let's do it and get it over with and have it done. Build a new building, have it be world class, get the reimbursements from the government, and you know, whatever's available for us. But I just think it's something that we need to do. You have the teachers, you have the people in the town, and we want our kids to come back to Seymour. So for me, I think it's, I know it's a big cost, and I don't want to shell out any more money than I have to, just like most residents, but let's not cheap out on this. Let's do what's needed to make this thing right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, Michelle Stramello, 188 Mountain Road. Also a staff member at Bungay School. Excuse me. As we have heard from many people, it seems like Bungay School is ready for an update. Now the decision is new building, which was recommended, or renovating Bungay School. I want to take you on a little first grade visualization right now. I want you to visualize a renovation. Hopefully some of you have been through them in your own homes. As adults, we avoid them whenever necessary. We're going through a bathroom renovation right now. I want no part of it until it is complete. Now, I want you to think about taking your computer and sitting and working in a renovation for an entire day. The chaos that's surrounding you. Now, not only one day, several days. Now, I want you to picture yourself learning something new in this renovation. As an adult, it's practically impossible. Now I want you to think of 5 through 10-year-olds trying to work and learn through a renovation day in and day out until it is done. We need a new building. We need a new school for our children. A new build is what we need to do. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Hi, Kristen Bruno, 10 McConney Court. I'm also the vice chair of the Board of Education. Of course, I am here in support of the Bungay project, but I'm also asking the liberty to speak to item 4 on the agenda because I was ill and not able to attend the board meeting in which Mr. Freund was honored. So I just wanted to talk a minute about my favorite Jim Freund moment, and many of you have witnessed this at the graduation. And that's when Mr. Freund stands up and lists accomplishments and invites children to stand, the student, they're adults, most of them at that point, but to stand up if the accomplishment applied to them. So I just wanted to recognize that type of leadership in knowing every child and giving them a chance to shine is something that's been so appreciated. And I believe we'll continue with Mr. Lucky, but I wanted to thank Mr. Freund because I didn't get to do it at the Board of Ed meeting. And to circle back to Bungay, that's the kind of a school system that we have, and where each child is recognized and supported, and we need a building that matches those values. Thank you.
Hi, Jessica Nunez, 26 Deerfield Drive. So actually wasn't going to get up and say anything, but Jess, the PTA president for Bungay School, sent me a text message and wanted me to say that she did a poll on Facebook today, and it looks like at this time 97% of the people support the new building, with only 2 people saying that they were unsure and no one saying no. So aside from that, as a mom of 3 daughters that are at Bungay School right now, most likely this will not impact them. And as proud as I am to be a part of this movement, it's not going to impact my children. They will be in the middle school. Maybe my first grader will get to be a part of a new building. If it gets renovated, she absolutely will not. I still believe in this. My taxes will go up, all of the things will happen, but my 3 beautiful daughters are in that school right now, and those teachers deserve a new building. Every incoming student deserves to have a new building because, like everyone said before me, these kids, we want them to come back to our community. We want them to be proud of where they're from, and the surrounding towns are doing that for their students. So please consider the new build because it is going to impact our town and make our town the best town that we know it is. Thanks.
Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Final call for public comment. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Proclamation, actually, it is a resolution honoring retiring Seymour High School Principal James Freund. Can I have Mrs. Bruno please come up here, as well as Mr. Stanek and Mr. Lucky? Trying to see if there's anybody else from the Board of Ed here. Okay, ready? Come in. Mr. Freund. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. One thing, could everyone stand up if they were attending Seymour School?
I like that.
Anybody on the other side?
Yeah.
I can go somewhere with this one, I'm just not, it's too soon. All right, Town of Seymour Board of Select Persons Resolutions. Mr. Stanek, I want to thank you for helping write this resolution, or writing this resolution.
My honor.
Whereas James Freund has been a dedicated principal and the leader of Seymour High School, serving as an assistant principal from 2007 and becoming the principal in 2013. And whereas Mr. Freund's tenure at Seymour High School has been marked by significant achievements that have strengthened the school's academic and athletic programs and the school's relationship with the community. And Whereas Mr. Freund has been instrumental in developing and presenting comprehensive school improvement plans which have enhanced educational outcomes and fostered a positive learning environment. And whereas Mr. Freund has celebrated the accomplishments of students reflecting their high academic standards of Seymour High School during his tenure. And whereas Mr. Freund's commitment to the community is evident through his participation in many community events in recognition of as the 53rd Annual Seymour Christmas Parade Grand Marshal. And whereas Mr. Freund's retirement from the Seymour School District as of January 31st, 2025 represents the conclusion of an outstanding career and dedication to the students of the town of Seymour. Now therefore be resolved that we, the members of the Seymour Board of Select Persons, hereby recognize and honor Seymour High School Principal James Freund for his tenure and exemplary principal of Seymour High School and wish him all the best of his retirement years. Dated Seymour, Connecticut, adopted by the Seymour Board of Select Persons on this 4th day of February 2025. Seymour Board of Select Persons, Amory Dragonis, Alfred Bruno, Teresa Conroy, Trish Danka, Rob Finley, Patrick Lombardi, and Fred Stanek, Select
And Madam
Person.
First Selectwoman, I'd like to make a motion that this board adopt the resolution as presented.
Motion by Fred Stanek.
Second.
Seconded by Al Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discussion? Passes. Congratulations.
And if I may, Mr. Freund, if I may, you have provided our Seymour High School with such an outstanding infrastructure and curriculum with outstanding staff that we're ready for the next step. And Seymour High School, I've challenged Mr. Lucky to bring Seymour High School to the status of a blue ribbon school within 5 years. You've set the framework for that. Now it can be implemented. And thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a... Can I have approval of the minutes from the January 21st regular meeting?
So,
Motion by Al Bruno, second by Teresa. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Approval of the minutes from the February 6th special meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Al Bruno,
Second.
second by Teresa. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? I abstain. I was not here. Motion carries 3-0-1. Thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding the tax abatement for the fire and EMS volunteers. In your packet, you will have a list of abatements that are in for our volunteers. As you know, through our ordinance, we give a we give a tax abatement to our fire departments and our ambulance, the volunteer fire departments. This year, it is at $1,500. Next year, we are moving it up to the $1,800, which is the maximum by the state of Connecticut. Actually, I actually believe it's $2,000 is the maximum from the state of Connecticut. Next year, we'll put it in the budget for $1,800 for our volunteers. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Al,
I'll second the motion.
second by Fred. Discussion?
Through you, Madam First Selectwoman, if you just make clear that it's for
Fif-
Citizens Engine, Great Hill Hose Company, and Seymour Ambulance, just so it's clear in the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is for the Citizens Fire Department, Great Hill Hose Fire Department, and Seymour Ambulance volunteers that hit the codes. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Huh? No, I just want to keep going. Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding the renaming of the park currently known as Broad Street. Attorney Stanek, Selectman Stanek, I will send this over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I spoke during the public hearing, and my proposal at this time is that we name the park Chewstown Community Park.
Okay. Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Tricia. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
And I would like to thank the public comment that we took into account and the students who participated in the student naming contest through the school district. Thank you.
Can you just name those students?
Yes. Alexandra Chernowski won the contest, and Mackenzie Blood was the runner-up.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lana was texting. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential sale of 150 and 170 Main Street to the State of Connecticut DOT for the upgrades to the Waterbury Branch Line Main Street Station. You guys, there were some questions and we had some answers on there. And, I understand everybody's point of view on this, but we must actually vote on it. Even if we vote no, understand that the state is still going to take it. Motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sale of 150 and 170 Main Street at the State of Connecticut DOT for upgrades to the Waterbury Branch Line Main Street Station.
Motion by Alberno. I need a second.
I'll second it to continue the discussion.
Thank you. Second by Tricia. Discussion.
Underneath our public hearing, and I made some comments there, and I made them before at our previous meeting. I still have concerns about the parking downtown while this is going on, and I know the project will go on and the parking will be an issue. We do need to make sure that we're looking at other sites and what we can do, if it's parking garage or whatever, but downtown has been historically a problem parking, and this is only going to make it worse. The second part is, I'm looking at that $45,000 difference between what the state wants to give the town of Seymour and what we have it appraised at. I have concerns that we're not getting the fair amount of market value for this property. And every year we have difficulties with our budgets, and $45,000 would make a difference in our budget. So with those two things, I will be voting no on this.
Okay.
If I may, I will reiterate what I stated at the public hearing. I am voting no on this proposal because it will detrimentally affect the economic viability of downtown Seymour and affect parking for residents of downtown Seymour. I think that the DOT, Department of Transportation, should have done a better job in informing the public and informing us what would happen here. I understand our council has made it very clear the state will pursue eminent domain. I understand that, but I have to fall on the sword on this one.
Thank you. Al?
Yeah, well, I appreciate my fellow select people's opinions regarding the matter. We have considered this, we've discussed this for a long time. So I gotta be honest, I don't quite understand it, but they're entitled to their votes. But I have to vote in favor of this because it will be taken through eminent domain anyway. And to take a position like that, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. I think we need to move forward with it. We need to get the money we need, and then we need to pivot and be planful in the future regarding our parking, because this is not a decision that we can make. It has been made for us by our Connecticut DOT, which we know has its foibles and flaws. So there is no way I can vote in good conscience against this, so I would vote yes.
I've been going back and forth with this. We have a parking issue in the downtown area. I'm not happy with the train station being in the downtown area. We had talked about the train station being behind Seymour Stop and Shop. And speaking to the DOT, they would keep this stop and have the Seymour Stop and Shop because it is our downtown area. train station there adds to the DOT, the downtown transient area of getting the housing down there. We're just going to have to come up with some inventive ways of parking. I know this is going to affect the downtown parking area. You know, Jimmy Zeppo from Zeppo's had the same issue with the Bank of America because he has parking for his tenants there and it's affecting him. And it's gonna affect Jimmy's place and it's gonna affect the train station, it's gonna affect the apartments. But unfortunately, we can go and spend the money and get the appraisal, and the appraisal may not come anywhere near the assessment that we have our property at, or it could come right up to the assessment. But it's only what the state is willing to pay us. And we've gone back and forth, and we can have the DOT meeting. Go ahead. Yes, Rich?
Well, I was sitting here thinking about this, and thank you. I'm sitting here thinking about this, and, you know, although I didn't go to the Seymour Public Schools, I did take math at my elementary school, and I can count. I would think it might make sense, just throwing this out, to perhaps have the movement, select person Bruno and I believe Teresa seconded, select person Conroy, withdraw their motions at this time and then do a motion to table. Because that would give me the opportunity to have a discussion with Mr. Vitale, and I can tell him that this was going to fail tonight. The motion would fail at a 2-2 vote. So what I'm saying is a motion to table, you're not voting on it. The state wants to take the action that they threaten. We'll be in the exact same place as if the motion failed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you table it, it gives me the opportunity to talk to Mr. Vitale one more time perhaps and see if we can maybe change something.
Thank you.
All right, if you would do that. Or a motion to table is always in order, and you could do that on top of this prior to a vote. I'll leave two different procedural ways for you to do it. I think the easiest is to withdraw the motions and then just move the table, so the record is clear.
I would withdraw.
Well, I will then withdraw my motion. As made.
And I'll withdraw my second.
Thank you, both of you. And that gives me the opportunity, I appreciate the courtesy.
I'd like to make a motion to table discussion regarding item number 9 on tonight's agenda.
Motion to table by Al. I need a second to move it
I'll
forward.
second.
Thank you. Discussion?
No discussion on
No
a motion to
discussion.
table.
All in favor?
Aye.
No's abstain. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Ooh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Town Council, for that advice.
Discussion and possible action regarding the assistance agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of Seymour and the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program for Public Housing Moderation. Right?
Skipped one, Madam First Selectman.
No, you
I
skipped
did.
it, yeah.
Discussion, sorry. Woo. Discussion and possible action regarding the resolution of the town of Seymour to join the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment, I can't talk, Authority. In your packet, you will see the
Where's that? I need to point out something.
resolution. You want to read it?
Well, before you do that, I would ask that when you do read it, there's a blank, because I drafted this before we knew the public hearing date. So I would ask that the person who does move it just read in the public hearing date of February 18th, 2025.
All right, I got it. I'll read it in. Resolution regarding joining the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority as a member municipality, whereas the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, the authority, a body political and corporate constituting of a public instrumentally and the political subdivision of the state of Connecticut has been established pursuant to section 8-169 II of the Connecticut General Statutes, and whereas The authority was created for the performance of the essential public and governmental functions, including for the purpose set forth in Section 8 through 169 JJ of the General Statutes to 1, stimulate economic and transit-oriented development, as defined in Section 13B 79 KK of the General Statutes within the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority development districts. 2, to encourage residential housing development within development districts. 3, manage facilities through contractual agreement or other legal instruments. 4, stimulate new investment within development districts and provide support for the creation of vibrant, multi-dimensional downtowns. 5, upon request of the legislative body of a member municipality or the legislative bodies of the municipalities constituting of a joint members entity as municipalities to assist in development and redevelopment efforts to stimulate the economy of such municipalities or municipalities. 6, upon request of the Secretary of the Office of Policy and Management and with the approval of the Chief Executive Officer of a member municipality or the Chief Executive Officers of the municipalities constituting a joint member entity as applicable in which development district is located, enter into agreement to facilitate development or redevelopment within such development district. 7, encourage development or redevelopment of the property within development districts. 8, engage residents in member municipalities or municipalities constituting a joint member entity as applicable and other stakeholders in redevelopment, development efforts. 9, market and develop development districts as vibrant and multidimensional. And 10, provide financial support and technical assistance to municipalities to develop housing growth zones. And whereas according to Section 8-169 LL of the General Statutes, a municipality may, by a certified resolution of the legislative body of the municipality, opt to join the authority as a member municipality, provided such municipality holds a public hearing prior to any vote on such a certified resolution. And whereas the town of Seymour held a public hearing on February 18th pursuant to the notice attached hereto, and whereas the Board of Selectperson has found the joining authority as a member municipality would support the town's efforts to stimulate economic development and foster the proposed outlined in Section 8-169 JJ within town, accordingly desires to join the authority as a member municipality. And whereas the Board of Selectpersons desire to further authorize the first selectwoman to enter into a memorandum of agreement or other similar agreements with the authority to create one or more development districts within the town to advance the purpose of contained Section 8-169 JJ. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Selectpersons hereby approve the town joining the authority as a member municipality. The first selectwoman is authorized to take or cause to be taken such actions, including but not limited to the negotiations and execution of the memorandum of agreement on behalf of the town with the authority and other agreements, instrument and documents that such official deems necessary, appropriate, or desirable to implement the term of any such memorandum of agreement, consummate the intentions of this and the resolutions. 3, the resolution shall there be effective on this date of approval. Good God. All while trying not to cry.
Our reading teachers praise you for that reading.
That was just too much reading after a long 2 weeks. All right. Can I have my motion?
I'll make a motion for the town of Seymour to join the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority.
Second. Motion by Teresa, second by Al Bruno. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Now on to number 11. Discussion and possible action regarding the assistance agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of Seymour under the Small Cities/Community Development Block Grant Program for Public Housing Modernization Project. This is the Castle Heights Housing Authority. Resolution regarding the assistance between us and the state of Connecticut. This, Al, do you want to read it? Do we have to read it into the?
You can move it as written. I
We move
imagine
as
that
written?
might be a little easier.
That'd be good. I'd like to move the resolution regarding assistance agreement between the state of Connecticut and the town of Seymour under the Small Cities/Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion by Al,
I will second the motion.
second by Fred Stanek. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Report from Human Resource Director Chris Pelosi. A, review of Emergency Management Director stipend study, and B, review of current open positions and recruitment. Chris Pelosi, you have the floor.
Thanks. I want to say it was back in August about 2 weeks before the flooding event that Seymour had, that we had the pleasure of hearing from Nicole Velarde. Nicole is the Region 2 Emergency Management Coordinator for the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, and she spoke to the board regarding EMD trends throughout the state, statutory expectations, as well as Region 2 specific expectations. And she also went into detail about the position itself and how it's evolved over the years. And as a result of that, the board tasked me with compiling some salary information as far as stipend amounts that we typically see paid to these people across the state of Connecticut, as well as how municipalities go about structuring that compensation, whether that be through a stipend amount, a part-time position, or even in some cases in Fairfield County, Stamford, that type of thing, a full-time salaried emergency management director position. So my findings from the salary study was a range between $5,000 and $15,000. I'm recommending that the board consider awarding a $10,000 stipend to the position. I think that that is representative of the middle of the range, and it also provides the town the flexibility it needs as it continues to evaluate its emergency management needs going forward, while also recognizing the greater responsibilities that this position has taken on over the past 3 decades. I say that with respect to the scope of the issues that it's become responsible for. Traditionally, it has been a response-based, recovery-based role that the person has played, and now it seems over the past 10 or 20 years, it's kind of started to shift towards planning, preparedness, and mitigation, and with that come additional statutory and region-specific responsibilities that, you know, were not always part of the traditional emergency management role. So with that being said, I'll certainly entertain any questions that the board has, but from what I can see in the research that I've done, $10,000 would be an appropriate first step for this position that would be both fair to the individual as well as give the town the ability to grow as it continues to evaluate the position itself and what it's responsible for.
Thank you, Chris. I'll take questions for the board. Teresa?
With the $10,000 stipend, will we be having a job description with this role?
So what I typically see is statutorily there is a job description that outlines the roles, responsibilities of the emergency management director, and what oftentimes happens is municipalities will more or less take the state's template example of what the person is responsible for and rely on that as their town or municipal emergency management director position. We've done the same here. So that is, in all likelihood, will continue to be the set of the position description that we use going forward for the town.
And are there certain qualifications or credentialing that this person would have to have? for this role?
There is a gamut of certifications that the person's required to have and experience that they should have as well in emergency management. Typically, what I found in most towns, it is the police chief, the fire chief, some other career public safety employee who also serves as the emergency management role. There were very few larger municipalities that had a reason to employ someone on a full-time basis dedicated to nothing other than emergency management. You'll see it in a place like Stamford where they have a division of public safety and there is a public safety chief that works in tandem with the police chief and the career fire. But for towns our size, and Nicole mentioned it too when she was here, it is typically a part-time position or a stipend position, and in rare cases, a volunteer position. And I think we're at the point now where the amount of time required by the person in the position is now reaching the point where there should be some level of compensation attached to the position just because of how
Sure.
how
And
much the
I see that, and I
responsibilities
see
increase.
that, I like what you said about doing more of the planning than just responding.
Yes.
And so with this $10,000 stipend, will the town also be budgeting in for like training for this person? I mean, is there, yearly training that they would have to do or anything like
There's
that?
not yearly training that goes with that.
Or any type,
I don't think that there's training associated with it. I think in general terms, if there was something that the town considered valuable, as far as a training exercise we'd want the person to undergo, that Anne Marie and the rest of the administration would be in support of sending this person, regardless of, to your point, whether it was required or not.
Thank you.
That's,
If I could, it's in the EMD's budget.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if we had
There's a line
money set
item in the
aside for this.
EMD's budget.
Okay, good, thank you.
no problem.
Al?
Yeah, Chris, thank you for putting this together. I was curious, I know you mentioned that your number that you're recommending is coming from similarly situated communities, correct? That's how you arrived, that's part of your
The
reasoning?
the towns that I looked at were plus or minus 2,000 in size
Yep.
compared to Seymour. So that left a range of about, I believe I looked at towns between, I actually went a little bit further than that, 12,000 and 20,000, just because the sample size, 14 to 18, there weren't all that many towns. So
Yep.
we expanded that a little bit, and we looked at between 12 and 20. And in that range, we found part-time stipend, and the range was between 5 and 15.
Well, thank you. I think you've given us a well-supported and logically reasoned number of 10,000 for the position moving forward. We definitely have the need. We cannot have a volunteer anymore. We need, after what we've experienced with the weather events, especially the one in August, which was very serious, which had loss of life. So we have a great emergency management outgoing director. We'll have a good one coming in. And I think that stipend is more than reasonable for the responsibilities. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. I agree with your proposal, Chris, and the figure that you're placing on the stipend. I would just like to see that the statutory language, as far as the description, be reduced to a job description, even though it's in the statute, and that the position not be filled until such time as this board sees that description, reviews that description.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And if I could, the snow and ice storm report, our EMD sent me for the February 16th. It was a significant storm, 5 inches of snow, 2 inches of ice. The Seymour Fire Department responded to 18 calls from 6 a.m. on the 16th to 1 o'clock p.m. There were 720 residents without power at one time. Public Works worked endlessly doing it in the support of the residents. Warming shelters were set up at the 2 firehouses, the police department, EMS headquarters. So it's not just the flooding that our EMD works on, it's the ice storms and the snowstorms, and this storm was icky. There's that word again, icky. It's my new word. All right, thank you. All right, thanks, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
The next thing is just a recruitment report. There's only one vacancy right now in Town Hall. It's the tax assessor. Extremely hard position to fill. At any given time, since we've had the position posted, there's been a dozen vacancies across the state of Connecticut. It doesn't help that the position is required to possess the CCMA 1 certification for municipal tax assessment in the state of Connecticut. It also doesn't help that our ceiling on the salary is that which other municipalities offer as a starting rate of pay for the tax assessor position. That being said, we have interviews scheduled next week. There are 2 candidates that are going to be evaluated. Hopefully, the result of those interviews is that the position is filled. If not, then I will need to revisit our recruitment efforts and try something different to attract candidates and get someone on board. I'll also add that the pass rate of this year's exam was 30% of the people that took it. So it is an extremely rigorous exam and testing requirement. And I think that obviously plays a role in why they are so difficult to defined, and going forward, hopefully we can fill the position and put that one behind us. The library is backfilling a full-time circulation assistant. It was just a retirement that happened. We have a full-time gentleman that retired in the circulation position, and now we are offering the position on a full-time basis to a candidate that we recently interviewed. But the community center is ramping up its temporary and seasonal hiring, and that's just in preparation for spring and summer camp programming, that type of thing. And Public Works is at full staff. Police department is also one person shy of full staff. So as far as town departments are concerned, we're approaching full staffing levels in all departments for now. And that's all I had for recruitment.
And if I can also, on the assessor, it doesn't help that our town charter states that the assessor must be a full-time person. If we didn't have that in, we could regionalize with another town. We can get a part-time, but it clearly says that we must have a full-time employee.
Are we looking to change that in the charter?
I'll wait till your green light goes on so you can ask that question again, or you can use Fred's mic.
Are we looking to change that in the charter?
I think they are looking at that, yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Is there anything that can be done so that the examining board for the exam could be a little less stringent? 30% is
If you know
terribly
anything,
low.
let me know.
Yeah.
I've mentioned
know
that
anyone.
before. It's just 30% is, and
Low.
it's traditionally that low.
It might suggest that the problem is, the exam and not the people
I mean,
taking it.
People have to be
Maybe.
qualified to help towns like ours.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
Right.
your problem, but I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do.
I'm looking into all possible resolutions for it. Get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions for Chris Pelosi, our Human Resource Director? No? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Discussion? Item 13, sorry. Discussion and possible action regarding potential stipend for the EMD. As you heard, HR Director Chris Pelosi give us a range between 5 and 15. He came up with 10. We need to come up with a stipend position. We need to have that job description sent over to us. But I think we need to settle on a stipend position as well.
I'd like to make a motion to have the EMD be a stipend position and move it forward so Chris can draft a job description and hire somebody
Great, that's a stipend position, but how much of a stipend position?
for $10,000.
Okay, thank you.
I will second the motion.
Motion by Bruno, second by Fred, discussion.
Through you, Madam First Selectman.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out, you presently, I believe, have an emergency management director who is serving a term having been appointed, and it was an appointment of the first select woman, an administrative appointment approved by this board. So you wouldn't necessarily be hiring someone. That individual certainly would be entitled to serve out his term. So you can set a stipend and do all those other things and create the job description, but there is an individual filling that position at this time, to the best of my
Say
knowledge.
future hire.
No.
No? Or should I say future,
Effective date?
Well, you can
effective
set,
date to be determined?
you can,
Effective when?
well, that's up to you. You can pick a date, and it could be a $10,000 annual stipend, and you could do a pro rata, whatever you want to do. But you have an individual serving in that position currently.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I'll withdraw my motion until we can figure out what a proper motion should be.
Proper motion, I believe, would be to stipend their EMD, whether it's a person doing the job now, or it's a person who gets appointed next December, or 2 years from now, you have a person doing the position now. Do we not think that the person doing the job now should be receive a stipend, or should we make that, effective December?
He is working on a volunteer basis. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So why shouldn't we?
I think we should prorate it from now until the election.
Yeah.
Soaring in of the next.
You can make it effective, if I may, Madam First Selectwoman, you can make it effective March 1 and prorate it. That's sort of what I was thinking as well, to deal with it. You could do that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, make a motion. I need a motion.
No, you made the motion. You just said.
It shouldn't be this hard.
Same motion.
I'd like to make a motion to have a stipend position for the EMD for $10,000 prorated starting March 1st of this year. Is that good?
Motion by Alberto, yes.
And I will second that motion.
Oh, thanks, Fred. Second by Fred. Discussion.
And just through you, Madam First Selectwoman, we'll have a job description prepared for the March 3rd meeting for the board to review.
Perfect.
That's fine.
Perfect, thank you. And we do have money in the budget for this year to fund this position right now?
Because we don't, there's money in another line item that
Okay.
has not been spent.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 4-0. Sorry, guys. Okay. I think what everybody is waiting for, that's here. Discussion number 14, review of potential school funding options. Kurt, I will turn this over to you as you and Jay worked on the funding for this.
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. So we worked with the town's underwriters, Measure Financial, to come up with some different financing scenarios, just to provide some background information for all of you, to give you an idea of what you would be looking at. We had created some initial estimates based on, again, some assumptions. We were able to convert those assumptions into actual numbers with the information that we received from the building committee. So I'll start with the overall costs, the overall projected costs for building a school as new. Now, the one thing I want to keep in mind, these estimates are designed to be on the conservative side. So they do not take into account any 10% extra kicker that the town could potentially receive with renovations being more expensive than building is new. So I want to make sure that is extremely clear. So this would be on the high end of costs of a projection for building a school as new. If there were to be a 10% kicker that's added, obviously the delta between these things would change significantly. So the actual costs projected to build a school new are $58,057,766. The state would reimburse the town 56.79%. Again, that's the estimate. Town would be responsible for 43.21%. So the bonded amount for just the school, now again, there'd be some other costs in there associated with the debt, but would be $25,086,760.69. A 30-year note with a 4.27 tick, which is true interest cost, would be $1,513,501.57 for 30 years, or a total cost of $45,405,041. Renovate is new. The information that was provided from the building committee, a total cost of $58,610,515. The current projected reimbursement from the state of Connecticut is 66.79%, which means the town would be responsible for 33.21% of that cost, or $19,464,552.03. Again, using the same 4.27% tick and a 30-year repayment schedule. The repayment would be, the principal and interest amount would be $1,183,682.23 for a total payment of $35,510,460. If the 10% kicker, we'll call it for lack of a better term, would be provided, those numbers would almost be identical. So again, I just want to make that clear. But again, I want the board to understand that that is a what-if scenario. We're certainly not guaranteed that. But it's something that certainly it should definitely be considered. So as it stands right now, the difference between, we'll just say, building a brand new school versus renovating as new, based on the numbers we received from the building committee, $329,819.34 a year, which is roughly $9,894,580.28 difference over 30 years. And again, these numbers will change, obviously assuming once the board chooses its direction. Obviously, it's approved by the residents at referendum. The new architect is brought on board. Final design is done. Final pricing is done. At that point, we would go out and build updated financial estimates based on current market conditions at that point. But as it stands today, this is a rough estimate of what you would be looking at for costs. A mill, as it stands today, is about $1,249,000, I believe, off the top of my head. So renovate as new would be just under $1 million increase. Building a brand new school would be about $1.25 million, give or take. A couple other things to keep in mind. Our debt service model, we work very hard in making sure we have what's known as a descending profile. So our debt gets reduced each year. Bringing the school on, regardless of which way the board chooses to go, will cause a spike in 1 year, and then immediately we will return to the descending model. So overall, long term, it doesn't hurt our descending model. It changes some of the underlying factors. S&P, other financial advisors, like your debt to be 50% within 10 years, so that way you're carrying less debt. This will cause that to change slightly. It'll keep us in the 40s a little longer than we should be, but nothing that'll have significant impact on interest rates, bond ratings, anything like that. We can certainly talk our way through that with S&P. We can also, at the time that we were to go out to bond for this, we can look at different alternatives, things like scoop and chucking, where you take higher debt and you spread it out longer term, shorter interest rates, shorter durations, different things like that. So there's a lot of things that we'll be able to do to try to attack this spike. We can try to spread the spike out as best we can. But again, I want to keep in mind, regardless of the direction that you choose to go, whether it's build as new or renovate, you're still going to have basically the same type of spike. So you're not going to see a big change in our financial situation one way or the other. That's the numbers kind of as they're presented. Obviously, when we got final, more definitive numbers, things may change down the road. But that is sort of where we stood. So I know Selectwoman Dank asked me to kind of do a quick breakdown of that, just to give you some information. Selectman Stanek has invited me to come to the meeting next Thursday, so we can ask some specific questions. We've met once or twice to discuss some of these things. There's a few numbers that I would like to go over, just some things that I question. And again, as a layperson, I have these questions. I'm certainly not a builder. But if I'm asking these questions, the folks up at the state of Connecticut will be asking the same questions. So if they're able to answer my questions and justify the differences in costs and things like that, then I'm sure they'll have no problem doing that at the state of Connecticut. And if that's the case, then I would expect we would receive that extra 10% kicker. But again, I just want to caution everyone that, again, these numbers do not include that 10%. If the 10% does get included, then that delta actually gets a little bit smaller.
Awesome. Thank you, Kurt, for doing the work.
Can I ask a question?
Treasurer.
What is the 10% kicker?
I believe the 10% kicker is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is for the full-time pre-K kindergarten.
Well,
No.
there's actually, I apologize, I have 18 million notes here. But in a nutshell, obviously the state wants to encourage school, because the state is carrying such a tremendous burden of cost. They're looking for towns to try to do this as cheaply as possible. So for most towns, it's to renovate as new. But if you could prove to them that building a brand-new school is cheaper than renovating as new, they're going to give you an additional rate. So the reimbursement on build as new, as it currently stands, is 56.79% for Seymour, and the reimbursement rate for renovate as new is 66.79. So it obviously gives renovating an unfair advantage because the reimbursement is so much higher. So what the state is saying is if you can prove to us that building a brand new school is cheaper than renovating, we're essentially going to give you the renovating rate. So it benefits the taxpayers. So again, that's, I think, where the state is going to push back. We've all seen the history that's happened up there in the last 4 or 5 years, particularly with this department. So, I mean, that's something, again, that we need to be extremely aware of. That's why I'm being very cautious with the numbers that I'm giving to you.
And can you provide us with those numbers? I kind of got lost on writing some of them down.
Yeah, I'll just email this to
Send
you
it.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a little
Perfect.
spreadsheet. I'll shoot it out to you guys in the morning. Yep.
Thank you.
Madam First Selectwoman, I think what you were referring to is there's potentially additional reimbursement for preschool programs.
Yes.
Correct.
Which I've written to State Representative Nicole Curtis-Ditchia about. And whether that comes to be is probably a long shot, because that's available to priority school districts at this time. We are not a priority school district. However, my argument is that the educational needs of children in both a priority school district and a non-priority school district, those educational needs are the same. There may be other needs of children in a priority school district, economic or whatever, but still, the educational needs are the same. And I'm asking that some consideration, or maybe special legislation be introduced, allowing that additional 10%. It's not 10% across the board, it's 10% based on the square footage of the preschool's programming, that be allocated to a town like Seymour. Whether that comes to be, I don't know, but the argument is, I think, as I articulated it.
Okay. Thank you.
So that would be an additional percentage. We do have a preschool program. I believe half the students are part-time, half the students are full-time, but we could certainly expand that program. There's a need for it, that's for sure.
Right, and I agree with you. It shouldn't matter, teaching our children shouldn't matter what town you're in.
Exactly.
They should all get the same type
Sure.
of education.
Sure.
And
Thank
they
you.
should be able to get the same cost. I agree. All right, great. Thank you.
Well, in terms of what this board needs to do, this board has voted to move forward to build a new school. However, we still have to solidify what the cost is going to be. I do have one question, Mr. Miller. The numbers that you're working with, do they take into account the give back of the retainage that the state holds on the reimbursement after completion of the project?
Yes. Yep.
That's worked into your numbers, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
It's a complicated scenario, the reimbursement's really complicated.
Yeah, it's extremely, because again, we have to go out and initially borrow. So let's say we're building the school as new. We would need to go out and borrow $58,057,766 and carry that with bond anticipation notes for the duration of the build. And then once that is done, we essentially apply to the state, and then the state will send us a check. And then the difference, again, in this scenario of $25,086,760, then we would go out for permanent bonding.
And,
So-
I know that people say, oh, look how long it took for Chatfield, for the town to get the money for Chatfield, but that was, it happened with COVID, so everything was just, we were doing it and we were going through the audit, then they changed somebody, and then everything stopped when COVID hit, so that's why it also took so long to get that money back.
Yeah, and there was also a changeover in staffing at that point at the Board of Education. And it's just one of those things that just kind of fell through the cracks as well. So it was
It's
a
not a
tough.
normal, it's not gonna take that long to get the money for Bungee as it did for Chatfield.
No, we've already, we're already developing a system to address that immediately. So just a collection using the OneDrive of how we're going to store the documents, so we'll have everything ready. Jay and Tony got a crash course in all things state education-wise, so they're going to prepare everything in advance so that we were ready to go. Very similar to how we're set up for ARPA. We have very specific packets of information for each ARPA project, so that way when the state does come in, or the federal government, whomever does the auditing, we can just simply hand off the packets and we're confident we have everything covered.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay. Discussion, possible action regarding the town strategic plan. You have the strategic plan in front of you. You give everybody a copy. There's actually something I wanted to add to it, but go ahead.
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. So, the town strategic plan has kind of slowed, I would say, in the last 2 or 3 years. So we've been working hard to get it back up to speed. So we started having meetings with the department heads in the fall, working with them on developing their individual plans. We are using, again, the OneDrive system, which houses all of the OneDrives. Department heads are responsible for going and updating and maintaining theirs. I meet with everyone once a month to review the plan. Out of the individual plans that each department has put together, I've created what I'll call a master strategic plan. These are what I'm putting forward to this board are the key initiatives that we hope to accomplish in calendar 25. There are 14 initiatives. I worked with some members of the Strategic Planning Committee. Haven't had an official meeting in quite some time because it's nearly impossible to get a quorum of that group. So what we've done is I just started working with them directly. We have 2 members of the Board of Select Persons that are on that board, Trish Danka and Bob Finley, along with Kathy Verlick, who is the chairman. So I've just been working directly with them on this. So this is the actual plan itself. There are, I believe, 14 items. And you can see the item listed. So the item 1 is a green initiative, and then the specific action steps, the timeline of when we expect each action step to be completed, and then the owner or a person who is assigned, and then the progress. Anything that's in that dark gray has been completed. Green is something that we are working on. Item 2 is obtain sustainable CT bronze certification. Item 3, improve cybersecurity profile. Item 4, expand online access to town residents to services. Item 5, just continual updates to the finance department. Item 6, expansion of senior programmings to evenings and weekends. Item number 7, after-school program optimization between the community center and the school. Number 8, community collaboration with the school district, and again, that's the community center trying to partner with the school just to provide additional programming. I know there's been a lot of conversation going on between Mary and the building principals on how to address that with the teachers. Number 9, Tier 2 accreditation for our police department. As you know, we got Tier 1 this past year, so they're looking to get Tier 2 accreditation. Item 10 is upgrading our dispatch capabilities. Item 11, automated speed enforcement. You folks passed a updated ordinance just in the last 2 months or so putting that into effect. Number 12, prepare for the new OSHA rule change to 1910.156. Item 13 is a website refresh. And item 14 is the WPCA future functional analysis. So that's determining the best course forward with our WPCA into the future. There's been several studies going on to determine what would be best with how you run your WPCAs going forward. So we're going to spend the next year studying that within the town. So this is the plan. The goal would be to, or not the goal, the plan, I guess, of the plan would be to report at the first meeting each quarter to you, to provide updates, to take questions, so on and so forth. Obviously, if you have individual questions from departments, department heads would be more than happy to to come in and report specifically. If you just want to let us know if there's anyone specific, we can get them lined up. If not, starting in March, we'll start bringing a different department head back in front of you each month for discussion. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
Strategic plan? No? Teresa?
Is this public document, will this be out there?
It will be once you guys are okay with it. Yes.
And then I just have concerns with our strategic planning committee. You said that, I know, I've been following it and I don't see any agendas filed or they haven't been meeting. Is there something we can do about that? Do we need to have different people on the committee if we're not meeting?
Well, I don't, I can answer. I don't, now that we have our strategic plan
Right.
in place, I don't really think there's a need for the committee.
So do we need to, what would you do?
We would just, I would
Disband
disband,
it?
I hate to use the word disband, but I would dismiss the committee, because it's, our department, we have our strategic plan now,
Correct.
right? So it's really up to the department heads now to follow through, and this board to ensure they're following through with it. So I don't really think that we really need the committee.
Yeah, that was going to be my recommendation as well. When we first created the strategic planning committee, this goes back 10 or 11 years ago,
Yeah.
we were actually trying to create a strategic plan for the town.
Right.
So there was a lot of heavy lifting with that. Over the 10 years or so, it's evolved now to where we actually have a workable document. You have two of the most active members of the committee actually sit on the Board of Select Persons. So I would recommend disbanding the committee, and you could create more stringent reporting requirements from staff to the select persons, and I think that would address that issue.
Sure. Yeah, just to get rid of that confusion, though, I think we should dismember the, whatever we're getting rid of that committee.
It's not this one.
I know, it's icky.
I've had enough Ricky.
Yeah.
And to their credit, Bob and Trish are very involved and very active in this. And Kathy Verlick is also exceptional. Kathy Verlick's exceptional.
They are great, but, I think we have it set now, and if we have the department heads reporting to this board now and in the future, it's really this board is saying, okay, what else do we need to do? So.
And just through you, Madam First Selectman, I'm sorry, Selectman Zan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is something that the Charter Revision Commission is discussing per the recommendations of your board, setting something up specifically in the charter about like the budget is, certain key dates. So this will be codified in the charter, so that way it will just not fall by the wayside.
Sure.
It will continue as it should be.
Good. Thank you.
I would suggest that we place on the agenda of the next meeting of this board the possible disbandment of the committee, to give the opportunity to Trish and Bob to speak to the issue, in fairness to them.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we probably need Bob and Trish here before we make any decision.
Yeah. Put that on for the
Yeah,
next
no.
meeting, yep. But, and just understand, so the strategic plan is gonna be online, but it's going to be a living document.
That's what it is, yeah.
It's gonna be a living document, which means it will be updated and things will be added to it as it goes.
Yeah, so for now, it'll be updated. We are looking at some software. That's something that Bob and I are actually working on, similar to the new software that we're going to have for the budget, which everyone will see once the budget process ends. And we upload it. It's very interactive for the residents. So the residents can go in, click, drop downs, make it nice. They can look specifically at different things from themselves. So we want to make this plan as user-friendly as possible, so the average resident who may not understand a lot of the topics, but they'll be able to go in and get a very good understanding of the topic and how it impacts them and so on and so forth. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the strategic plan? Any other questions?
So is the first meeting of each quarter an appropriate reporting schedule, just so I can make sure that the department heads are comfortable with that?
Fine.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appointments, there are no appointments in our package, there's no transfers, that's a good thing. Tax refund and abatement, there's two, one for 2/4 and one for 2/18. If you could please look through, make sure there are no issues, and then I need an approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the tax refunds and abatements as submitted tonight.
Thank you. Motion by Al,
Second.
second by Lisa. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Correspondence, there is in your file, in your packet, sorry, a letter from the town assessor to Jeffrey Beckham, the Secretary of Office of Policy Management, notice of the implementation of the 2024 reval. The purpose of this letter is to provide you with written notification of the implementation of the reevaluation in accordance with Connecticut General State Statutes. The municipality of Seymour has completed and implemented a reval of its 2024 grand list. Cancellation of the Board of Select meeting for February 4th. And then, I put in everybody's packet here today was there was something on Facebook today about the fire safety concerns at the library during a Friends of the Library event. I was not here last week. And I asked the fire marshal as to what had happened, and he just said it was brought to his attention that there were some things on there, and I just want everybody to have a copy of the letter as to what he sent out to the board. That was it for correspondence. Public comment? Is there any public comment? Public.
Rebecca Bennett, 21A Cozy Lane. Again, staff member, lifelong resident on the building committee. I guess I'm a little confused because I saw we had discussion and take possible action tonight. I feel like, and along with the community, we want to get going with this project. We have hired experts who have come to our meetings and answered all our questions. These meetings have been open. We were hoping that if people had questions that they would come because we have asked all the questions on those line items. We have asked and had clarification multiple times. So I guess I'm just kind of bothered why now it's coming up at this point. Where were these questions all along when we've had these people at our meetings? And why are we kicking the can down the road again?
So there's, if I may, there's no discussion of possible action. It was discussion and review of potential school funding options.
Okay.
So there was no actions to be taken tonight. It was our treasurer giving the board the financials as to how much it would be and how much bonding it would be. There was no actions going to be taken
Okay, so my
tonight.
understanding that since it was approved by this board to move forward as new, then that's what we can say that we're doing at this point?
The town has to, the town.
Right, the
people have-
referendum, correct.
the
That's where we're
referendum.
going with the referendum as new. Am I correct in that?
Mhm.
Okay. I just wanted clarification to understand for moving forward. Absolutely. It was unclear what was happening tonight, so I appreciate
The
that.
board had voted a while ago, and I know we're not supposed to be going back and forth and comment. I get it, I understand it.
No, we appreciate that, just for clarity.
I'm looking at both of you. Right? It's, we already voted to
No,
go
we
for
understand.
new. So we are now asking the treasurer funding purposes. That's what it was. There was no taking action tonight.
No, I
on
appreciate
the
that. The way we understood it was that they were just questioning the numbers
Oh.
and that wanted clarification, and that's why.
We have to question the numbers because we know the state is going to question us.
Absolutely.
And if the state's going to question us, then we have to make sure we have the answers for the state. And as an auditor on an environmental and a safety end of it, if I have a question, that means I'm gonna have a finding. If I have a finding, that means I'm not giving you the money for it.
Absolutely, I agree.
So his
And
questions.
as a building committee, we've had all these questions. That's
Right.
why we've asked them to come
Well,
multiple
we have-
times.
Right,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to dig deeper, as an auditor would dig deeper, you know. One is, I'll mention the roof, Bungay School has a 7-year roof on that, so why are you saying X? You know, because that's what the auditors are going to ask,
Correct,
and that's
yep, and we
just.
addressed that,
Right,
yeah.
that's just something that we have to ask so that we have the notes in case we're asked, because when it goes in front of S&P.
Right.
And when the treasurer has to go in front of S&P, you guys aren't gonna be there.
No,
He
we-
has to answer the questions,
we
or
appreciate
or
that.
whoever is in the seat has to answer the question.
No, we appreciate that, and we've welcomed and been very open about the meetings, and would love to have people come there and ask questions besides us, because I think that's a great opportunity, so.
No, it's a
And I
great-
know you came out to our open forum when we had Bungay and we did tours, and we appreciate that, because those are the times, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? Okay. Select person, what?
Can I,
Select- Huh?
Madam First Selectwoman, would the board entertain adding to the agenda 5 specific, and I'll read them off, state court foreclosure actions, tax foreclosure actions, so I may give a very brief public update on 5 of them?
Can I have a motion to add,
And they would be, so I can read them, Seymour versus Urban, 72E Walnut Street. Seymour versus Urban, 72D Walnut Street. Seymour versus Urban, 72C Walnut Street. Seymour versus Urban, 72B Walnut Street. And Seymour versus Banks, 11 Patrick Drive.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to allow Rich to give updates on the foreclosure matters he wants to discuss about, and add that to our agenda.
I second that.
motion by Al, second by Teresa, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
If I may, I'm pleased to report that the court-scheduled hearings on all of these matters, on our motions for judgment, each one of them has gone to, the court granted a motion of judgment of foreclosure by sale. On 72E Walnut Street, the fair market value was determined by the court to be $150,000. The debt was determined to be $42,129.23, and the auction date was set at April 5th, 2025. On 72D Walnut Street, the fair market value was determined to be $55,000. The debt was determined to be $17,008.14, and the auction date is April 5th, 2025. On 72C Walnut Street, the fair market value was determined to be $25,000. The debt, $3,431.41, and the auction date, April 5th, 2025. On 72B Walnut Street, the fair market value was determined to be $60,000. The debt, $21,911.78, and the auction date, April 5th, 2025. And on Seymour versus Banks, 11 Patrick Drive, the fair market value was determined to be $485,000. The debt, $118,040.78, and the auction date, April 12th, 2025. So we're pleased to report that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Rich. Okay, with that, selectmen's comments. Select person's public comment, sorry, Al?
Oh, okay. I want to thank the public for coming out tonight. Your participation is key to our democracy, and it's really important to come out and voice your say about your town. You have the biggest bang for your buck with your local vote. Never mind the state and the presidential. Honestly, it all matters about your town. That's where you live. This is what you can influence most with your votes. It's just a numbers game. So thank you for coming out and doing that tonight. I love having people at our meetings. And I want to congratulate Jim Freund on his retirement. He did a wonderful job moving Seymour High School forward and doing great things for children. He always kept the kids' best interests in mind. My daughter Katie had an outstanding experience at SHS, and it was a perfect fit for her. Principal Freund was the leader of the building, and that was a big reason why she and all her friends and others that go through that high school had great outcomes and are doing great things with their lives. They're all great citizens, and that has a lot to do with the building level leader. I've seen it myself. I had a great building level leader when I was in elementary school, Mr. Frank Skronsky, the late Frank Skronsky. What a great guy. So I'll never forget his leadership and experience. It makes a big difference in kids' lives to have a great leader. Stay warm and drive carefully. Some state roads are still icy.
Right. Not town road. Fred.
Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. I too would like to thank everyone who's here this evening, especially for the naming of the park and especially for the Bungay School project. We still have to, as a Board of Select Persons, we still have to set the amount of the referendum amount, so we have to have further discussions about that. But we're getting closer to that point where we set the amount to go to referendum. And I want to thank Mr. Miller for meeting with me and discussing with me some of the town's financial concerns, but I think we're moving ahead. I also want to, again, congratulate Mr. Freund on his retirement, Mr. Lucky on being appointed the new principal, and I'd like to recognize David Willitson, who has been appointed the new assistant principal at Bungay School.
I think he just left.
Just left. I think that's it. Thank you.
I too want to thank everyone for coming out. You know, usually we have like 2 people in our audience, and you guys really hung out and got to see how our little board meets. Please come back and join us again, even if it's not about Bungay School or any of the schools. We really need to have more town involvement, because it's you that, you know, it's your reason that we're up here representing you. So please, we always want to hear from you. I do want to just make another shout out to the Snow Brigade.
Yes.
Those volunteers that are going out shoveling. I hear from seniors all the time that they just show up now. It's miraculous. I could qualify, but I still need that exercise doing it myself. And I am glad to see that the park now does have a name. I think it's a great honor for Joseph Chuse and for our town. The VFW did do a lot of work on it, and I think we'll always recognize that. And I just want to say I'm happy to see all the parents out here about Bungay School. It's going to be a battle, getting through a referendum. You're here tonight, but it's going to be needing a lot of votes and people getting out there and really pushing your cause, because I know some people say they have children that are in the school now and you won't see them in the new school. I don't have any children in the school. I don't have any grandchildren, but I do want to see this school happen, because it is an investment in our community. Whatever we do into our education system always comes back to us. So again, please be proactive, and thank you.
If I may speak one more time. As a follow-up to the support for Bungay School, we need all of your help, all of you folks to help support the school. I've been receiving a lot of positive comments, especially from the older population, which is very positive. So we look to parents to push the school, but I think this is going to be a project that the public across every age group is going to support. And the committee is working hard to make a very, very great school for Bungay School to be in the future, physically. I know the culture there is great. I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, under the first select person's report, I feel like I don't have a lot. Al, thank you for covering the meeting last week for me. Mr. Freund, great guy. So great to honor him. I hate to see him leaving the high school, but I know he's going to stick around and be there for us. Bungay Road, big topic in town. Potholes happening, a lot of rain, a lot of freezing temperatures. Construction starting next month. That's the best part, but as you know, it's going to get icky before it gets better, right? There's my word again, icky. The construction is going to start. As you see, they're already marking out the roads. The surveyor markers are out. If you drive by Bungay School, you're going to see the telephone poles are there from Frontier. As soon as this weather clears up and we're done with the ice and the snow, they'll start replacing the telephone poles. When they start replacing telephone poles, that means the lines are going to start being moved. So we got to work with the Frontier. We have to work with the cable people. We have to work with the electric company. Then they're going to put the sewer lines in. So there's going to be a lot of work, and the road is going to be dug up. And am I going to hear complaints again? Yes, we are, right? Because Bungay Road probably won't be done for another 18 months. You know, that's what they're saying, 16, 18 months. But look, if you drive Holbrook Road, if you drove Holbrook Road before, and you drive Holbrook Road now, you don't even know you're in Seymour. It's a totally different thing, a totally different road, and I know Selectwoman Stanek is smiling down on us because she hated that road and she hated all those trees. But now it's a beautiful road to drive by, and we know Bungay Road with the redesigning of that road, it's going to be beautiful too. It's just, we all have to suffer a little bit with it. I want to thank our emergency services, our fire department, our ambulance, and our police department. This past couple of days with all the ice, there was a lot of accidents, a lot of power outages, and those guys were out there all the time away from their family, helping us. So I can't thank our volunteers and our police department enough. I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is the most people we've had at our meeting. I think that was the reason why I did not move the school up, because I wanted to make sure they kind of stayed for our meeting. Just joking.
We have to build more schools.
Yeah, there you go. And on a personal level, and I won't do it, Miller, don't worry, I just want to thank everybody that has reached out to me and has reached out to my daughter. We appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. I'm not going to do it. And I just want to say thank you all. Thank you. Won't do it. She's doing much better. Thank you. She came home from school today. Oh, sorry, dismissed. Sorry, we're done. Sorry, dismissed. We're dismissed. Sorry, meeting adjourned.
Point of order.
She walked in the class.